Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 229 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Chick Challen, with co-host Zach Carlson. This is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Hey, Zach.
How's it going?
I'm exhausted. That's how it's going.
Exhausted from what?
Construction. Video game playing, please. Although you did keep me up late last night.
I don't know. I think it's getting funner. I wasn't so sure about the whole Xbox thing at first there, but I'm actually enjoying my time on there.
Hey, no more Xbox talk. We already got too much hate mail. So, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I haven't done a ton in gun stuff, except for, I know before we had talked about these Fix-It sticks. I think I got it for my birthday in early November for my sister-in-law. This Fix-It stick replaceable version with a bracket, and this is the one that is the T-handle that breaks down, and it has like a rubbery plastic tray that it all locks into, and there's 3, 6, 12, 13, 14, 16 different bits in there, and they all work together. It was a really good toolkit, really compact. I think we talked about this on one of the earlier shows. The downside to this kit, or the only limitation in this kit, I should say, for kind of the precision gun use, was there was no torque limiters in that. And that's what Fix-It Sticks is known for, is their torque limiters. So I reached out to Fix-It Sticks, and I had them send me this all-in-one kit. And what the all-in-one kit is this is a newer kit from them, that the original ones used torque limiters that kind of look like this all-in-one, except for they are a smaller setup. So this all-in-one is basically, it's got the 1/4-inch driver on the back that you slip into the T-handle, and then you has a female receptacle on the end to put your bit into. And then on the side of this all-in-one, there's little laser-etched numbers on it in a scale. And then the body of it has the little hash mark. And so it basically kind of works like the more manual style torque wrenches, where they just had like a needle gauge and you would just pull it till that torque hit that needle range. Yeah. It didn't click over like a traditional torque wrench. That's kind of how this one works. It feels like a kind of like a spring loaded, just like a gauge. It doesn't have the limiting like the torque limiters work, where they, once you hit your torque, they just let go and you just free spin. Now that's, I guess I would call that a little bit of a downside, but it also has some benefits that we're going to talk about. Is that this is one driver that goes from 0 all the way up to 65 inch-pounds in 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, and 65 inch-pound increments. And what that allows you to do is kind of go between a bunch of different ones and really just get them in and just use it for one tool to do a bunch of different jobs. The downside, there's two downsides for me, is you have to be able to see this gauge while you're torquing it. So if you have something where you're kind of trying to do it blind, where you would normally just rely on that limiter just to let go at that time, you're not going to get that with this. This is much cheaper. This all-in-one torque driver kit with all the bits, the tray, everything is $112 on their website, whereas the Works kit that includes like 4 limiters, the 65, 45, 25, 15, which is all already covered in this all-in-one. If you buy them with the separate limiters that are pre-specified, that's $180. And each limiter is $40 if you just want to buy them a la carte like that. So it can get a lot more expensive. So if you can live with this, the small limitations that this gives you, I think it works for 99.9% of the people. And actually, it's going to work for me just fine. I actually like it a lot. I haven't had to use it a ton yet, so I don't have a ton of real-world experience with it. But just on principle, playing with it in my hand here and doing all that, it seems like it's going to work for what I need. Just kind of depends on what if you have access and you can see it, and if you're okay torquing to where you see that gauge line up and then stop. You know, you're not going to get that that free ride where it just free spins for you. So knowing that, I like it a lot. It fits in a lot smaller case than what I'm used to, like the Fat Wrench from Wheeler, which I'll put a link in the show notes. That's what I've been using for years, and it works just fine too. It's just a bigger torque wrench. You have to set it every time manually. I don't know how accurate it actually is in reality, but it does work. So this is the Fix-It Sticks. This one is the all-in-one torque driver kit. There's a link in the show notes if you want to go see it on their website. I think they're running a sale. I kept seeing on Instagram, I think it's 10% off. I don't know if that's still running or not, but I think they're worth it. I like it. I like how compact it is. And I think they're kind of the standard for this kind of deal.
Small work like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get inch pound. Well, it's not hard. It's just they're very small, compact like that. It's pretty crazy to do it that small. So I like it. I'll let you know if I have any issues, but I'm going to probably do some gun projects coming up soon. They're great for scope mounting, that's for sure.
Well, that's better than my method, because when I hit my torque limit is when righty-tighty goes to righty-loosey.
Yeah, when it goes a chunka, and then it gets tight and then loosen again. That's usually when you have the problem.
Yeah.
That's when you pull it out, put red Loctite on it, and just shove it back in.
Yeah, exactly. Works for me. So this week I didn't do a whole lot. I've been real busy construction-wise in the shop here, building out a more office space, more production space, the lounge, the hot tub. No, wait, there's none of that. A lot of framing, a lot of work. When you think about, framing out, building walls, you're like, oh, it's easy. You just cut the 2x4s and slap them together, and, turns into...
That's not how you do it?
Essentially that's what you do, but it's just so much time involved. Maybe it's partly doing it myself, but Jenny came out and helped me with a few things I couldn't lift and stuff, so that's always nice. And had kids handing me stuff, but still, it's... just takes so much time, way more, like any project, way more time than you'd ever think it would take. And then a couple days ago, I had a big semi-truck roll in again. I'm like, what is this? Because I knew we had some mattresses coming, and I think they're coming freight. But I had a delivery date of like the 24th or something for those. So I'm like, the guy's like backing up to my big shop doors here, and I'm like stopping him. I'm like, wait, tell me what you have first.
Was it the same driver and the same company?
Yeah, same driver, same company. And it turned out he had this cabinet.
That was weird.
Yeah. No, he was like, oh, it's this Durham or whatever steel cabinet. I'm like, yeah, that's Amazon. They screwed up. They sent one again. I don't need another one. I don't even have room for another one. So, but he didn't think it was a big deal, so it was no problem to mark refused on his little handheld, and I signed refused. And so then I get a notification like 15 minutes later from Amazon saying that there's a problem with your order. It's been canceled, and we've issued you a full refund. So I'm like, wait, they delivered the first cabinet and tried to deliver a second one, and I canceled by refusing the second one. I canceled and refunded my first order. And I double checked the statement and everything. I only have one charge for this item, so they're refunding me the one charge. So I after 20 minutes on the phone with Amazon, they actually did something pretty amazing. The Indian Amazon rep was like, well, actually, we screwed up. So this will be like, how do you say, like a Merry Christmas to you? I'm like, are you serious? He's like,
I mean, does Amazon have any oversight into that? Like, how much, if this has happened to you, and this is the second time this has happened to you, like, how more often is this happening?
It's actually the third time in the past, 10 years or so, but definitely the largest item. I mean, this is $1,000 cabinet. And the freight charge, I can't imagine what the freight charge is for that to come out here and go back. I mean, it's got to be hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, because I would assume the trucking company is still getting their fee and the fee back to the warehouse.
Right. Yeah, a double fee. So I don't know what Amazon's smoking, but keep smoking it, because they gave me a free cabinet, which I was blown away with. He basically said, well, it's our screw up. You will get the refund, and you don't have to pay for the one you have, and we'll also still warranty the one you have. And I couldn't believe it. It was, blew me away.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It is. It's a Christmas miracle.
Well, how come you didn't accept it and get 2 for the price of 1?
Well, now that I know that, but I didn't know that then. But even looking back, I don't have any room to put this a second one. And if I really like this cabinet. I like the concept of it, and I could see using it in my main shop for just general mechanics and maintenance and automotive stuff. But I wouldn't get one this heavy gauge of steel. I would get the maybe 2 gauges or 4 gauges lighter of steel, because this thing is so overbuilt for anything I would ever use. I mean, anything other than a gun cabinet, it's very overbuilt. Like maybe in a very industrial setting where you had it packed full of really heavy stuff that you're constantly accessing and moving around, but I just don't have that scenario. So,
what about all your prepper food and everything? You don't want that to be anti-mouse and anti-crackhead?
I have to get an old school bus and bury it in the backyard to put all that.
Well, that's cool, though. So you have a free gun cabinet, all legitimate. You didn't try to screw them. I mean, this is your moral compass being too strong. This is the problem with you churchy types.
Too strong. It's called It's called being a good person, Zach.
No, but isn't being a good person sticking it to the man?
No, that's the opposite.
I still remember back in the day that we would buy stuff from Walmart that was on clearance at one store, but wasn't on clearance at a different store, and you could take it back on the receipt and get full price back for it.
Wait, you said we. I never did that.
No, we is my family, I guess I should say. They would take it back without a receipt. That's before they even started checking driver's licenses back. They didn't used to really care that much. Yeah. Then they started tracking how many people were doing no receipt returns, but
right.
Those are called the good old days. When you could grift a corporate conglomerate without feeling guilt.
Anyways. So Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Check out patriotpatch.co. Check out the Patch of the Month Club for sure, where you get an exclusive patch design only available to Patch of the Month Club subscribers. And you also get a matching sticker and a unique, one-of-a-kind artist artwork card with your Patch of the Month. So patriotpatch.co. Also, I mean, by the time this airs, it'd be too late for shipping and everything, but there are still Christmas patches and Christmas ornaments in stock. So if you want to get yourself a late Christmas present, you can check that out. patriotpatch.co. I
think it's pretty common, though, for people to buy ornaments for next year on the year previous, so I don't think that's that big of a deal. You were not joking when you said that those ornaments were a thicker cut of PVC. They're super, super thick. They're really good. Jake sent me some, and I opened them up. I was not expecting them, and I was like, what is this? And then I opened them up, and there's a whole plethora of ornaments there, and if you have a young, well, I don't want to say gender your kids or anything, but a young boy, really, Cam was super excited about him opening them and reading them all and picking them on places on the tree and everything. So if you got a kid, that's a cool gift, even just for a kid. Because I don't know, did you ever do ornaments as a kid? I don't know, we used to get new ornaments every year, and the years following, you would look through and remember that year.
As a kid, I can't really remember doing anything like that. We do it with our kids now. We get unique 1 or 2 ornaments that are dated that year for the family. And we got a new house ornament this year because we moved in a new house and stuff like that. So yeah, it is a fun thing to do with the kids. And next year, keep an eye out. We'll have even more Patriot Patch ornaments.
You can do them earlier next year?
Yeah, well, these are supposed to be earlier, just production delays and stuff, and it just worked out to where they came in at the last minute.
Well, speaking of production delays, I think you segued perfectly into our main topic.
Main topic this week, the Timberwolf full-size frames.
Yeah, I think if anybody is kept up on the Lone Wolf progress on projects, you'll know that we've had in the past a Timberwolf full-size and a Timberwolf compact frame years ago, and we did them for quite a while, and then they were kind of seemingly discontinued and kind of not a whole lot of communication out of the company. And I kind of want to talk about that project just a little bit. I don't want to belabor the point, but I am really excited. I have in my grubby hands a full-size Timberwolf compact frame, and this one is shipping as of right now. This just went live to customers on Wednesday. We're recording this on a Friday. So it's been shipping 2 days. I know I'm already getting emails from customers that have them, so I know they're making them into hands of people. I just went and picked mine up at my local dealer, Larson Weapon Systems. And it's been a long project, and I'm so happy that they are finally out. It feels so good to feel the fruits of your labor in your hand and getting able to shoot something with it and say somebody.
Wait, who did you shoot? Wait a minute.
I may have misspoke there, but you get what I'm saying. It feels so good. I had a bunch of Poly 80s built because we didn't have frames out at the time, and this whole upper I just took right off a Poly 80 frame and threw it on this upper or this lower, and it worked fine. So basically, we had these frames out, the Gen 3 versions, or the version 1, I should say, that fit a Gen 3 slide. And they were good. They worked fine for a lot of people. We just were never fully satisfied with them. A project, anytime you do a project, you learn how to do it better the next time around. Every piece of furniture I've ever built in my life, I've always regretted after the first one. I'm like, man, I wish I needed 2 of those, because the next one I would have built would have done this, and this different. And I would have done this differently. And I know now when this happens to do that, and those things happen naturally. I think that's pretty much anybody that works on anything kind of gets that. Your first one is not going to be 100% perfect or the best. And so we kind of, I will say we probably prematurely discontinued those frames. We could have just kept making those and just kept going while we were working on this frame. But honestly, we didn't really anticipate the lead times properly. And what we did was we discontinued the full size and compact, and full size and Glock nomenclature, for people that don't know, is like a Glock 17 or a Glock 22. The full size standard grip, 17 round magazine and 9mm, full size, 4.5 inch barrel. That's the standard gun. We also have the compact, which is the Glock 19 or 23, the shorter compact grip. And then what we were doing is, when we had the 9s out, or the compact fulls, people inevitably were like, well, where's the 10mm? Where's the 45 ACP? They wanted the big one. I've learned this rule of manufacturing is nobody wants what you have. They only want what you don't have. It's like, it's like the Murphy's Law kind of thing. It's just, man, it got super frustrating. So we started working on the large frame a few years back, and that one was a completely new mold, completely new process. Whereas the reverse engineering on a Glock frame that was done on the first 2 frames was completely different. We used some different resources for that. And then when we got to the large frame, the 10mm 45, we opened our eyes to a bunch of different reverse engineering technologies that we didn't have available before that. So we were able to get a lot more clean data based on a Glock frame. Because here's the thing with Glock, it's one thing to have a company that designs a gun from the ground up and they get to make choices that they want to make. It's a whole different animal if you're trying to I shouldn't say copy, when you're trying to make stuff that's compatible with another brand. We have to make all of our parts flip into a Glock and Glock parts into ours and work together, because that is the shtick of it all. It's a Glock compatible frame. It's not a Glock frame. It's Glock compatible. All the parts move in and out, and to be true to that, you kind of limit yourself. I mean, we could have made a lot of things, just stupid examples, like the breech face on a Glock where the firing pin pokes out of the breech face is a rectangular hole with square edges. That is not ideal for manufacturing. That is very hard. You cannot machine easily square corners. that has to either be a broach or an EDM cut. There's different technologies that do that, but that's not something that you can easily do. Glock did it. I don't know why Glock did it, but we've kind of come to the conclusion of, if Glock did something, they're not stupid. They did it for a reason. And we could have easily just made that a round hole, made new firing pins that had a round protrusion, and they would be compatible and it would work. But then if somebody had our slide but wanted a different brand striker or wanted to go an OEM one, their compatibility wouldn't be there. And then can we truly look somebody in the eye and say we're really a Glock compatible parts company? Where at that point you're not. So that being said and kept in mind is we have to constantly make sure our stuff is compatible. And people don't know this outside the industry, but basically, Glock will make changes without telling anybody. They don't owe anybody anything to tell them. We find, we buy Glock OEM parts a lot, and we can go to our shipping shelf and we'll get one shipment in and we'll go look at it, same part number, same stampings, but it's a different part. Like they've done that with the spring that pushes the slide lock lever up, that little leaf spring in the front there. We've done that before. You can go and see the same part number, 2 different springs. Wow. They made like generational rolling changes, and maybe they tell somebody, but they definitely don't tell us, obviously. And we don't see that published data anywhere. So that stuff, and I'm not mad at them for that. That's their prerogative. They can do that. That's the benefit of being the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer. But we have to keep abreast of those changes. So that's why we rotate in guns from Glock and look at them and scan them and make sure we have data on that. So when it came to the frames are a super complex part. There's so much geometry in these frames that has to be right, or else the gun doesn't work. These parts have to fit. And Glock doesn't tell you like, hey, our tolerance on the trigger bar is this, and so make sure it fits there. They're not going to tell us that. We have to measure a boatload of parts to find out, okay, Glock let this part leave the building, so they must have thought it's okay, and it's on this dimension, and then this other part we have that's the same part number is way over here on this dimension, so that must be their tolerance range. Like Glock allowed it, and it still works if you swap parts around, so that's kind of the thing. But you can only do that with experience and time. And so the frame was one of those kind of deals where we had this frame ready to go probably a year ago or more, but then new data came to light where we looked at the CAD model and we're like, well, actually, we can undercut this trigger guard a little bit more. There's more room in there. We can go up. Right here where the trigger housing area is, where the web of your hand is, there's more room to be had there. Just some little tweaks and changes, and we didn't like the stippling. We changed the stippling to kind of more like the Gen 4 Glocks, that kind of square array of a grid array on there. We decided to make all these changes, and these changes were made after the thing was pretty much done. So it's kind of like, imagine like making a pizza, rolling out all the dough from scratch. You get it all done. It's in the oven. You take it out and you're like, ooh, I really wanted it to be a sausage pizza, not a pepperoni. And then just basically let's huck that one in the trash and go build another one. And so that's essentially what we did. But we wanted this to be right. Like that was the thing, is we didn't want to sacrifice marketability and just time to market. And unfortunately, that's kind of bit us in the butt, because since we had that frame ready and now there's way more frame competitors on the market. Like there are other companies doing that. And unfortunately, that's the problem when you're one of the very few people doing something and you're underserving that market just because you didn't have it available for people to buy. The market will find a way. And this is what happened with frames. Like there's a few frames out there that are made now, and I don't have an opinion one way or another of them, but I mean, they may work, they may not. It doesn't really matter. It's a matter of that there's another choice out there. So now we're all fighting for that same consumer's dollar. But on the flip side is we put a product out that we know is good now. And we can all stand behind it as a company. Every employee says, yes, I've got my blood, sweat, and tears in this product, and it's good. And we waited, we did the right thing. We didn't just chase the dollar, and we have a good product here, and it feels fantastic. I know we did the large frames. The large frames were the first ones that came out in this Generation 2 design, and that one came out roughly in November of 2018 is when we launched that. That was really good. Everybody likes it. I mean, when we go to SHOT Show and these other shows, we put a Glock OEM frame on the display, right next to other guns so that a customer can hold each gun hand in hand and see, like, because it's very hard to remember in just your mind's eye of, okay, what did a Glock feel like in my hand? And then I'm holding this, and does this actually feel smaller, or what does it actually feel like different? So when you hold them side by side, you really do get that feeling. And we had a lot of instances where we would give somebody a 10mm or a 45 ACP and just say, hey, what do you think that is? And without them really looking at it, they're like, is this a Glock 17? You know, like the size didn't off-put them. But where Glock, if you go hold a Glock 21 or whatever, you know you're holding a hand cannon. I mean, it feels physically larger. So we tried as much on the large frame to really get that grip size down. And I think circumference-wise, I think I measured it just underneath the mag release all the way around the grip. I think we were 7 thou bigger on a Glock or our Timberwolf large frame compared to a Generation 3 Glock OEM 17. So we're barely bigger than a 9mm frame, but with the 10mm 45 size cartridge inside there. So I took that as a personal point of pride. That's a pretty amazing accomplishment. And so what we were doing is we came out with the mark with that. So people are a little bit familiar with that style frame now, but they've just been beating us up over the 9mm frames. Like, I think I take it personally because, I mean, I'm kind of in charge of this, and we have a small team in the R&D side that's really the ones that are responsible for this frame. And it was all of our decision, and we're the ones that, you know, constantly hear about it, that, hey, this frame is not out. Why? And it's a hard thing to explain to somebody, like, yeah, you know, why isn't it out? We could have been out when it was 80% done. You know, it could have been to market. We could have done the rolling changes. We could have done all that, but we just wanted to make it right. And so what we did is we made all the changes, did some changes. You know, this is the other thing too, is you have a CAD model that says this part should be this size. CAD model meaning a computer-aided design, I guess it'd be a 3D computer model of what this frame is in computer space. That doesn't mean when you make the mold and everything and you pop out your first one that it's going to be perfect, because it isn't. Different materials cool differently. They shrink differently. You know, you kind of have to work up your way to a lot of dimensions. Like these pinhole sizes where all the 3 pins go in the gun, you know, the trigger housing, the locking block and trigger. That took probably 3 or 4 revisions just to get it. We had to inch up, because you got to remember, in a mold, you're doing the reverse of everything. So to make that pin, you have to do the inverse of it. So you can only work so much. And then if you go too far, you can't machine that pin anymore. You got to just throw that part away and start over and put another one in there and work it. And so it's a lot of complexity for this part, and especially with, you know, how deep you have to go in the mag well to extract that mold out of there, and the whole insides on the top. It's got to come out. But you know, we just the complexity of this dust cover area. So the dust cover is where the piece that goes around the guide ring loop here on where the slide end is. This is a Gen 3 and Gen 4 compatible frame. So originally we just had a Gen 3. So that was one single molded piece, not a big deal. But we decided, why make it Gen 3 only when, you know, Gen 4s are out now? Well, back when we were doing this frame. And so what we did is we added a plastic adapter that clips in to the front there. And for Gen 3 use, you just leave it in. And if you want to run a Gen 4 slide, which has a bigger guide ring loop, it's a bigger diameter down there, you just pop out that little adapter.
Cool.
And it fits the Gen 4 slide. The problem on manufacturing side is the way that clips in, there has to be a little recess in the dust cover, so those little teeth kind of pop into it because then you push it down. It's kind of like a spring action. But you got to remember, it's in a U shape, so you have a U that has little indents on each side. So that mold has to mold those, and then it can't just come straight up and out. It has to collapse on itself to come inward and then come out. So it's like this multi-stage crazy mold system. It's way more than we expected. Yeah. And these are the things you learn once you're in it too. Like, you know, you're like, oh wow, I didn't think it was going to be that much work. And it's all these little gotchas, but once you're in it, you can't back out of it. Like, you're in, you know, you're going to make it to the end, or else you're going to have nothing. It's either do something or nothing. There is no middle here. So it's been a lot of work. A lot of man hours. We also switched to a Gen 4 style mag release. So it's the square ambidextrous release. So it's the one, not fully ambidextrous. You can take it out, flip it over, and make it for left-handed use on this other side.
Right.
Our other frames used a proprietary round mag catch, which was great. I mean, it is more comfortable. We still stand behind that mag release, but it didn't allow people choice. We really want to give the people the power to personalize their pistols. If Peter Piper could have picked a pickle pepper, we wanted the choice. So we didn't want to lock them into that mag release. So there's a lot of Gen 4 compatible aftermarket mag releases out there. So if you have a pet one, put it in the frame. We don't care. It all fits in there. The other thing we did, we include the mag well. It comes on it now. It used to be an option. This mag funnel, it's a 3-piece design. So it slips on the front. There's an integrated rail, a lip that goes around the bottom of the magazine. The mag funnel slips on it from the front. There's a little retainer on the back, and then it uses a cross pin. It actually uses the same pin as the trigger housing back in there. So it's got pin compatibility, which was another thing we changed along the way. And we added these little mag cutouts here, the little scallops on the side. These used to be just a big funnel all the way around, but actually this is customer demands. When we used to do these for the V1s, we had customers when we made these in aluminum too. They're like, "Hey, that's great and all, but I want to be able to like rip the mag out when I want to. And can we scallop that?" And we're like, "Yeah, whatever." And so we did that, and we did that in the machined versions for a while. And so when we made this mold, we made these scalloped right from the get-go. We think it looks better. I like it too.
Yeah, looks cool.
Yeah, it works. And so if you don't like it, like if you don't like this mag funnel, or you're making a concealed carry gun or whatever, because even the compacts will have this. But for me, my hand's a little bit bigger. But on a compact, the mag well is a little bit too tight for my grip. So you just pull the pin and you slide the thing off. Like, you don't have to keep it. We're not forcing you, but you get it with it in the frame. I don't know. I'm really proud of this frame. The full size. So this one is what we call the full. So it uses a full size slide. So Glock 17 slide and a full grip. So this one is the 17 length grip. And then this is the textured version. The one that is, and this is out now, the one that we're launching, this will go out probably Saturday. So next week, the Monday it should go live, will be the compact. So that will be the 19 slide with a 19 length grip, textured. So by next week, you'll be able to build a Glock 17 and a Glock 19 style gun from our frames. Same features, same everything, different size frame. And then we'll have more frames forthcoming very quickly. The beautiful thing is when we're all said and done, there's going to be a ton of frame SKUs, because just this upper, so think of it in the top half of this mold, there's the slide that you can put on here. So this Glock 17 slide, we're going to do, we already have the 17 grip out. Then we're also going to do a 19 grip. So how everybody was complaining about the 19X, like, oh, why did you do a short slide, long grip? It should be the other way around. Well, you'll be able to do it now. So without cutting a frame or without doing a slide adapter, because we used to do a slide adapter where you could take a Glock 19 frame, put a dust cover adapter that bridged the gap when you put a 17 slide on it. And then you had to have a conversion barrel because the Glock 19 locking block uses a different barrel. And it had a lot of criteria to make that work just because of the way the parts combination worked. But this one, you could just take a off-the-shelf Glock 17 style upper, and the grip will already be molded into a Glock 19 length. So that's coming out soon. And then the inverse of that. So we also have a Glock 19 upper with the Glock 17 grip. So that's more like the Glock 19X style. That'll be out. And then shortly down the road, we will do even 26 lengths on both of those. So you can have a little baby grip on it, and then both the 19 and 17 top ends. And then a little bit further down the line from that, we're going to do the smooth frames. And the smooth frames are important because more and more these days, people are stippling grips, or they're laser stippling it, which we do. We offer laser stippling as well. Laser stippling just kind of gives you an intricate pattern availability that you just can't do by hand. You can make logos. You can do all these crazy sorts of stuff on the grip. And so that's the smooth frame version. Because I don't know if you notice, you've ever seen how they do that, where they, like the people that take factory Glocks, and they'll sand all the stippling down
right to
make a smooth frame. And then they hit it with a stippling tool to make all the impressions. And so it's like, well, why don't we just keep all of the thickness of the material and just do the smooth version all the way around? So those will be out eventually, but these are amazing. I'm going to build a bunch of these guns. So it's not really helping my gun budget situation, but it is what it is. See, I thought the Xbox was going to save me all this gun money.
I told you it wasn't. So when you're at shows and you got people grabbing these grips, comparing it to the Glock, what were some of the conclusions they come to?
That it's so much more comfortable. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I didn't even mention the back straps. You know, you get the flat back strap, which is what it ships with. So it's a very flat angle, more like a 1911 style grip angle. And then you get a swelled back strap as well, which is, you know, a bit more like the factory style gun. Not as extreme of a hump in the back as a factory Glock, but a little bit more along that line. And what we get a lot of times is, especially like shows like retail, like NRA. NRA is a perfect example. The NRA annual meetings, this is like the miniature shot show for the retail side. If you're an NRA member, you go, you do it. You get a lot of guys that walk around, and if they don't know who you are, like if they don't know what Lone Wolf is, you say, like, hey, you got a Glock? They're like, oh, I don't like Glocks. I like a 45 or I like a 1911. And you're like, well, are you sure you don't like a Glock, or you just don't like how it feels in your hand? They're like, oh, it feels like a 2x4. And they're like, all right, well, go try it. Just humor me. Go feel it. It doesn't cost you anything. Just go put your hands on one. And they're shocked that it's a Glock. Like, you get all the cool Glock interchangeability. You get the benefit of all the aftermarket parts out there, the reliability, everything that you get with a Glock, minus the uncomfortable grip or the limitations of said grip. And so, yeah, you could say, well, just buy a CZ, you know, or, you know, what your Springfield fanboyism might be showing, I guess. But you know, there are other options. But if you want the Glock, like the Glock has the biggest aftermarket. It still does. I don't care. You can argue either way, but the Glock has the biggest aftermarket. And if you want to take advantage of that, but you don't like a Glock frame, it's fine. This is the way to personalize it. And the other benefit is for people is, you know, most people buy, what's a Glock now? $500? They buy a $500 Glock, yeah, and they spend about $300 to $400 on upgrades, conservatively. You know, $100 trigger, a $150 barrel, a red dot cut. You know, all these little upgrades that they do along the way. Well, and then they have all these extra parts, and it's like that's how you get the junk drawer full of gun parts. Yeah. And it's not really it's custom, you know, quote unquote custom, but you could call our team and say, what are my options? And they could walk you through one of these gun builds and say, okay, hey, on the grip length, what kind of mags do you want to use, or what size grip you want? Do you want it this, that, or this? Do you want the connector to be this kind of feel, that kind of feel? You can do the trigger. Do you want the plastic trigger like I've got on this one, or do you want an aluminum one that's adjustable? You know, you can just kind of work your way through. It's like, I'm sure you've done this, like when you, the car builders online, when you're like, okay, what if I got this car with this option package and did this, and it's kind of a little more personalized to you? You could build up a whole custom personalized gun that is exactly your specifications for about the same price as you would have spent on a Glock and all the extra crap you're going to throw at it. And it's done. And you get it, and it's done, and it's perfect right from the get-go. Like, it seems like, why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. No, that's a great idea. So I don't know. The frames have a lot of features. The undercut trigger guard is what a lot of people notice too, is when they grip it, their hand, you know, a lot of people take Glocks and they do this modification, and hopefully the good ones, like Pike over at Mod 1, he actually uses a mill to do this. So the frame is fixtured and it's cut and everything's square and everything's aligned. But you see some people doing it with a Dremel, and you'll see like one side's lopsided compared to the other side. Like they don't, you know, that's kind of the Bubba frames. You know, we mold it right in. Like, why not? It's done. You don't have to deal with it. The rounded trigger guard, you know, the more pick rail slots in the front, the extended beaver tail. This is my favorite feature. If I had to pick only one feature to love on this frame, I've got really fat hands. And a Glock Gen 3 gun, or even Gen 4s actually, if you use a Gen 4 without the big beaver tail extension backstraps, if I don't be careful, I will get slide bite and I will bleed every time I fire. And I can tell it's getting bad because I'll, like, after a few shots, I'll look down and there's 2 black track marks down the webbing of my hand where the grease and the carbon just dragged across my skin, embedding that carbon into my blood flow, or my bloodstream, I should say. And, it kind of makes you a little hesitant, or I got to really think about wrapping my fatty hands into the grip and rolling it so it doesn't pooch out like a muffin top over the grip tang. But this is solved with the extended beaver tail on these frames. It's already built in. I don't cut myself. I don't think I could cut myself. It's not physically possible at this point. So even fatty hand people like me can shoot comfortably.
I think you guys designed the perfect boomer fatty pistol grip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and these are the guys that, the boomers are the ones that have the money these days anyway. So, yeah, we got to cater to that market. Yeah, you got a lot of money that you want to make a gun personalized and you don't want to deal with a gun store guy and a bunch of parts compatibility and hoping it all works. Well, just buy one right from the get-go. Done.
So what are some things you learned along the way that are some things that were different or took longer? Or I don't know, what's some of the learning experiences you've had?
Quadruple your initial budget and double your time at least.
I was going to say, I can't even imagine what those molds cost or what the mold budget was to start with and what it ended at. That had to be...
Well, the good news and / bad news is we didn't really have a budget per se. Like we knew we were going to do it. It's not like, well, if it was this price, we're not going to do it. Well, no, we wanted it. We were going to do it. It was like, it was one of those situations, like the classic car auctions where it was like, hey, that car is not worth that money, but those guys buy it because they want that car. Yeah. Hey, well, this frame is our classic car. We want it. We're going to do it. And by golly, we did it. And cost be damned. But the nice thing is we didn't, we kind of are amortizing that cost ourselves. The frames right now we're doing the built frames first, and they are $225, $225 with all the lower internals. Most of our competitors' frames are $200 bare with no internals on there, and there's a lot of parts in there to put in there. So these are $225 ready to throw an upper on. I literally got this home and I took the upper on, just threw it on, and everything's good to go. So I don't think you can really beat it price-wise. I don't think you can beat it feature-wise. We are literally the only frame that is Gen 3, 4 compatible in the same frame. There's a lot of people making Gen 4 only frames. There's a lot of people making Gen 3 only frames. But, these days you want to kind of be able to roll with the times. Like, what if you get a good deal on a gun broker Gen 4 slide somewhere and you only had a Gen 3 frame, or vice versa? This lets you switch hit whatever you want.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, and there's a feature, if you care, we always get a lot of people that want to have the lowest serial numbers available. Like they want the first collectible versions or whatever. So what we did on this one is for $25 extra, you can get the lowest serial number that's available. So basically shipping will go and pull the lowest number available. And so if you want one of the low run ones, get it new.
Can I get number one?
Number one is not available. We pulled 1, 2, and 3 for our owner and his son. So they get the top 3 serial numbers.
I'll take number 4.
4. I know who owns 4, and this one in my hand is 5. So you might be able to bid it up if you really want. But no, they are still available. Go for it. I'm really proud of them. There's more coming too. So if that's not the configuration you want, just wait and you'll have it pretty soon.
Very cool. Links in the show notes, as always. Patriot Patch Co. helps make this episode possible. Check out patriotpatch.co. Check out the Patch of the Month Club. And check out our Instagram and Facebook. There's a Patriot Patch Facebook group that we do free giveaways every Friday. So check out the Patriot Patch Co. group on Facebook. And Ryan Cross, Hunter of Design. If you're looking for awesome artwork design, website design, check out hunterofdesign.com. He does all the awesome design at Patriot Patch Co. and also does freelance work over at his own business at hunterofdesign.com. And Zach?
New father.
So congrats to Ryan. He's, first-time father. Beautiful baby boy. Congrats.
Yep. I won't say his name in case he's doing OPSEC.
Yeah. Probably already scrubbed all the online databases.
Do you think that he's already bought all the online profile names of his son and registered the domains and everything for that?
Oh, maybe I should buy the .com and resell it to him for like $20,000.
Yeah.
You know, I've done that. Have you bought the .coms for your family? I've done that for all my kids.
No, I'm not that proactive.
Funny, I own ZachCarlson.com.
Oh, you're the one that's been sitting on it, squatting my name.
You know, I used to buy way more domains than I should have, and like a couple of years ago, I let like dozens of them go. I'm like, I'm never going to do anything with these.
Yeah, it's like what's the cheapest? Like $10 a month? Like that adds up after a while, or $10 a year. That still adds up like hundreds of dollars a year if you have a bunch.
Yeah, it does. So where can people connect with you online?
Oh, you can always look it up on Instagram. I actually have pictures of all your ornaments on Instagram. Take a look at them. I think they're pretty cool. Yeah. They get less product photography style look. They're actually on a tree, a real tree. Well, actually not a real tree. It's actually a real fake tree, but a real person's tree. And then you always YouTube links and range hide articles.
We provide ornaments for real people, real people's trees.
Real people, fake trees, fake rubber.
.com. You can send us hate mail to gunguyradio@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.